Now, other ways we can gather information is through the SNMP, which is the Simple Network Management Protocol. Now, all my friends over in the security world, we actually like to say that it stands for security, not my problem. So you want to be careful. I'm going to kind of throw that out a little bit, is that SNMP is unencrypted traffic, and anybody that's sniffing traffic could easily eavesdrop on your communications, gathering statistics, getting your read-only or read-write community strings. There is a version 3, that does use encryption to be able to keep this stuff secure, so just keep that in mind as you're working with it. Likewise, we have the NetFlow technology. Again, this is going to be sending information in clear text. Now, most often, if it's just sending me information about port statuses, things that generate a trap, or statistics, that's not necessarily the end of the world when it comes to security. It's when you start getting strings, the read-write community strings, where I can actually make changes to a device or get downloads of your configuration files. That's where I'd be careful. So, all right, I'll get off my security soapbox, and we'll come back to using SNMP to gather the information we need. So again, the two main technologies that we can use to create the baseline are just that, the SNMP and the NetFlow. Now, SNMP is basically a collection of your statistics, like the interface statistics we've talked about, packet counts, errors, how busy the CPU is, the memory usage, and it works in a pull model. Pull means that it's not offering information unless it's asked. So what happens is your network management server that is set up to make that request will connect to the router or switch through SNMP and ask or pull that device for specific information, whatever information you wanted to get. Now, this is available on almost every network device, but it is not the end all. So let me talk about that for just a second. When I go to the router or switch with my SNMP connection and I ask for information, a couple of things have to run. Number one, you have to configure SNMP on the router or switch because it has what's called an agent that's going to work there and respond and get that information. But also in SNMP, it has to have what we call a management information base, a MIB, that understands the request and knows how to translate your SNMP request to the appropriate commands to get information off that device. So you have to have a supported set of MIBs on the device that you're pulling from, and you have to make sure it's configured and that it's running so you can get the information. Now, SNMP also supports a trap model, which is more of a push. Now, the trap is where you can set up certain events, certain things that trigger off, that you can say, okay, this is important, don't wait to be asked, push this information out, and we call that an SNMP trap. Now, the Cisco Ios Netflow is, and there's a lot of overlap, by the way, between what I can get with SNMP and what I can get with NetFlow, but NetFlow is designed to be more of a traffic pattern profile. And it works on a push model, so it's always sending information out to the NetFlow connector or collector, whichever device that is you want it to do. And it records traffic flows. Now, it's not like a TCP dump or a packet capturing program. It doesn't get you the application layer stuff. It's just collecting the information from the headers. And a flow is just that. It's, you know, here's a source IP, here's a destination IP. We're using TCP port 80. That's a flow. All that back and forth is a part of the same flow. If I get a new destination address, same source address, that's a new flow, or different port, or whatever the case is. So it's keeping track of those flows and storing it locally in its cache anyway, but then it'll also, when set up, is push that information out to your NetFlow collector. Now, this will keep information about the flows that are either currently running or ones that are already ended, but it gives you an idea about the directionality of your traffic, how much bandwidth is utilized in each of these flows, and helps you again be able to start looking at the way in which your network behaves, how the traffic is flowing to get the patterns that you need. Now, it's a router-based feature, and it's only available on the high-end multi-layer switches like the 6500s and the 4500s. So it's not on all the switches, and it's more designed to be a router-based feature. Now, as far as working with SNMP to configure it, it's pretty straightforward stuff. You have to create a community string. If you like, you can think of it like a password, but it's not technically a password. It's just, I got to know the string to be able to say, I would like to get information. And when you create this, there's just some you can do this with 5 command lines. You create a community string, so the command SNMP Server, community, you type in the string, and then you got to tell me if it's a read-only, meaning I can just get information, Or a read-write, where I can actually push information and make changes to some things in your router's configuration. So community Cisco would be your maybe your read-only string. I wouldn't really use it because everybody looks for public and private in Cisco. But I mean, the example is you just create a string, whatever it is, and then you type in RO for read-only. Do the same thing with the next string with an RW for read-write. Now the next part is some of the information that we use as far as the information gathered by SNMP to help kind of differentiate the traffic. We put in a location and a contact name as well. And we also can create, optionally anyway, a list, right, to be able to guarantee the interface indexes that we want it to have. We want the interface index list to stay the same, especially if something reboots. Now, why is that important? If I change interfaces during some maintenance session and we reboot the device, the actual internal indexing that the device uses might switch. You know, what was interface 1, which was fast Ethernet 00, maybe now 1 becomes some other interface from some other module. What happens is that as I'm gathering the information, you know, my statistics, the information coming to me from SNMP says interface 1, interface 2, and if suddenly those interfaces change, that's going to kind of skew the information I'm looking at, because suddenly interface 1 that was a fast Ethernet is now a 10 gig Ethernet, and it's certainly showing it by the reflection of more traffic and more information on the counters, and that could be confusing. So you have an optional to use the IF index persist command to be able to make sure that your indexes stay there. All right, now read-write strings are optional. You don't even need to put those in. And the location and contact, also optional. So to really make SNMP work, the most you really need is a read-only community string. And that, again, like I said, acts as a password for SNMP. All right, we're going to take a look at some of the ease of use here with configuring SNMP. We'll go to the global configuration and just start off with SNMP server settings, give you the question mark, and we have a few things you can fill in the blank on. Well, communities are certainly important to us. Let me mark that up. So we can put in the community strings and choose read-only, read-write. We're going to go ahead and put in the contact. We're going to enable the traps on this as well. We'll put in, let's see, anything else that I might, location information again. And we'll take a look at a trap configuration and sending the information off to a specific host. And there's quite a few other options, as you can tell, but these are some of the more common ones. So we're going to have a community string called Cisco. That is a read-only. And then I can hit the up arrow, and we'll make the other community string San-Fran. That'll be read-write. All right, now SNMP Server, and again, I'm just using the tab to help complete this. Location, we'll say is building A, server closet. Well, actually, this is probably not a good location where the actual device is, but we'll just say that this is building A, and we'll say it's human resources. Just put it in that type of method, and then SNMP server, the contact can at anyemail.com, which is not my real address, but you can try it, I guess, if you want to. Just don't get me in trouble if you send somebody else spam. All right, so just like that, that was fairly straightforward. So let's do SNMP server enable. Oops. And then the enable, we forgot to add the traps. So we want to add in the traps. And here's where I can choose the type of things that I'm curious about sending to my server. Or I can just hit enter if I want. So that enables the traps. But it says I cannot have both sham link and state change interface traps, so it took one of them off. So that's what you get when you hit enter like I did. It was trying to put every single one of these things in there, which was probably just a little bit too much. And then the next part is the SNMP Server trap, and now we're going to do let's see, authentication. We'll trap the authentication, and maybe the ACL failure, so enables the authentication for access lists. And all right, so again, you can see that you can be very specific about the type of trap. And now let me go back to the SNMP server again and put in the question mark. The last thing I need is a host. There we go. Now that I've got these traps set up, I need a host to send them to. So that's the one last part. So host, I'm just going to make up an address that is not reachable, but and then that host should have an interface. Let's see, well, version. We'll make it version 2C, and the next part, community string or username. Well, the community string is Cisco. There we go. Now I've got the host and the version, and the string that they need. The one that I have associated is read-only. And from there, I will exit, and we can take a look at the show running configuration. Let's see if we can do section SNMP. And, let's see. So show run, let's see what, maybe I want to put in the, I guess we'll put in the begin SNMP and see if we can get that part of it in. There we go. And there's the enable work that we did on the SNMP server. Now, remember, some of the filter commands are different prior to the one I was running on the router versus the one on the switch, and even with the version of the operating system. So when you try some of the filters and you don't get some of the success, it's just a matter of version and product, and of course using your question mark so you can see what you're looking at. And you can see that I turned on all those traps. Remember, when I just hit enter, I took pretty much all of those things that I wanted to see. So quite a bit of the configuration done, but that was how easy it can be for SNMP server. I might suggest you don't make your traps as busy as I did this one, but it was, like I said, a quick and easy way of looking at the configurations.